On today's episode of Bucked Up.
How I transformed from the group aspect on stage to the solo act on stage, because it was kind of like I started performing with the group. So once I got my first solo run, I was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. Like I'm literally by myself. I have to man the stage by myself. So it was kind of like I had to know myself, because there's gonna be awkward silence at some parts during the set or in between certain songs. So I'm kind of like a funny guy if you have a conversation with me. So like I'll just say something on stage and the next thing you know, people start laughing. I'm like, oh shit, that was funny.
Yeah.
And so you said, can I ask you that shit's been supposed to have been out?
Hold up.
All right.
Well, we good. We live.
We live?
It was
Good?
Yeah, it was supposed to have been out before the year was over, but I was like, you know what? I'd rather not rush it. Just wait to the top of the year, make sure it's, sitting right, make sure it's good, and then yeah, that's how we're gonna go forward.
That shit's
So
crazy. I can't
I
wait
didn't
for it
want
to drop. Thank you for sending it to me.
no problem. I was like, yeah, let me give Sam the early listen, send him a private link so he could bump all the way through it,
While I
get it
was at the gym. While I was at the gym. And then when I was
Yeah,
smoking in my
man.
car outside.
Lloyd Banks has said, my words touch niggas in jail, make it want to finish their last sets. You know what I'm saying? While you was in the gym, I'm like, yo, you know what? Let me send this to him, man.
Are you a smoker
Oh
still?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I just smoked the L like not that long ago.
You a gym goer?
Am I a gym goer? Not really, but I still work out at home as far as like, my push-ups, my regular, calisthenics.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably better for you than going to the gym.
Yeah, I can't lifting weights never been my thing. Like that's never been my thing. I remember in high school, my senior year, we had to take weight training, and I was like, wait, I need to take this to graduate. Fuck it. Like that was the only time I was ever lifting weights was in that class. Other than that, I was like, yeah, this shit ain't for me.
Yeah, nah. And then people give me the worst looks because I'll smoke like a fat like joint in my car. And then I go in and they're like, yo, this kid's fucking reeking like weed. Like this old grandma's working out next to me.
Oh shit.
This is weird, but it's kind of like church. It's like I feel like I don't need to go to church. I got a good relationship with my higher power. It's like
For
if
real.
you don't need to go to the gym if you're actually fit. Like you're doing your push-ups and you're probably way fitter than me. Are you a nerd about anything?
Oh yeah, I'm a weed nerd. I'm I used to be a like when it came to PlayStation, forget about it. I was like a heavy like when I was younger, I used to be subscribed to PSN magazine. Like I was so into PlayStation. Like I used to like buy the like special E3 issues just to know what was coming out. So like I would have my Christmas list already written out in August.
You
I
you
already
were in
knew.
it. You were
Like I
in it.
already knew
Why
what I wanted.
PlayStation? Why PlayStation?
Well, I had it pretty early. My step pops had got me a PlayStation like literally when it came out, and it was so new that like I didn't even know what it was. And I remember going to school the next day, like, yo, yeah, I got a PlayStation. And my boy was like, PlayStation? What the fuck is that? A jungle gym? And I was like, nah, it's some Sony new system. And then I had set it up, and I was like, oh, this shit is crazy. And I kind of like pushed the Super Nintendo and the Sega aside, and I also had Sega CD, which was like my first introduction to like 3D. And then that shit broke. So then the PlayStation was like my thing. And I was like the only dude that had it. So like everybody was coming to my crib to play it. Like all my friends like, can I come play PlayStation? I'm like, yeah, for sure. And I had all the games because like I would see what was coming out. I would ask for it, and then, I'll get it for Christmas. And then I'll have like 10 games I'm unwrapping when Christmas came around. I'm unwrapping like 10 games, and like, that was my thing. I was a game nerd
Do
back
you
then.
remember your first game? The first PlayStation game that you
The
remember?
first PlayStation game was a demo. It was like an interactive demo, and it had mad different things on there. But Siphon Filter was like the one that I kept replaying. Like I just could not stop playing that one.
Are
But
you
then I think the
still?
first game was like why do I want to say it was 2X either nah, I feel like it was Tekken 2. That was like the first game I had got. Either yeah, I think it was Tekken 1 actually. It was Tekken 1 and it was something else that I had got. It was one more game and I'm bugging out because I'm like it's right there. But anyway.
Were you good at the fighting games?
Oh hell yeah. That was my thing. What? Like knowing combinations, memorizing combinations, forget about it. People would be
Hell
like,
no,
yo,
bro. I can't do it. I was the button masher and just hope I could win.
yeah, I had mad fighting games too that mad people forgot about, like Beast Wars. Bloody Roar. I said Beast Wars. Beast Wars was another game that I had that people were like, how do you even have this game? Wu Tang, that was my shit. The Wu Tang game.
Wait, there
I
was a
had that.
Wu-Tang fighting game?
Bro, that was one of the sickest games ever made. And it was crazy because that was like the first game where you could like play with, I think, up to 8 players if you had a multi-tap. So
That's
like
the
the
whole that's the
multi-tap,
whole Wu-Tang clan.
bro, exactly. Exactly. Yo, it was so sick. Like, so I had a multi-tap. I would tell my homie, yo, bring your multi-tap so we could plug it into the second port, and then you got 8 players playing a fucking melee.
Who are you? Who are you?
My favorite person in that game, it was either between Raekwon and Inspector Deck, but I liked the agility of Inspector Deck's character, so I would say Inspector Deck's character was my go-to in that game.
That's crazy because that's I love Inspector Deck as a rapper. I think he's one of the most underrated Wu-Tang members.
One of the
So
most
rapper.
underrated in in hip hop. Period. Like that's why I'm so glad he like resurfaced with the Czarface stuff because it's like, bro, you got to get your flowers. You got to get your flowers, bro.
Yeah. Even in that world, it's fine. Like I like the Czarface stuff, but it's so funny because it's like that's the like dad rap world, you
Yeah.
know?
For real. I guess you could say that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because all the like the older homies.
I'm a white dude from Boston, so I feel like I can say it. But you know that like esoteric is like the white dude from Boston. Like
I got you. I know
I've gone to their shows. The first time I ever took edibles, I went to see Czarface, and I got way too fucked up. So I'll always remember them as a great show.
facts. Facts.
What was your first concert you ever went to?
Oh man, first concert I've ever been to. Damn, this is whew, I don't even know because like back in the day, I guess you could say when I came up, I grew up in Queens, so like growing up I was born in '88, so like in the '90s, you know what I'm saying, like I'm a kid growing, rap is growing. A lot of the rappers that are popping off are from the boroughs. So they're still in the neighborhood. So I would see Nas when I was like 7 years old. I would see him around.
Really?
Yeah, because I had lived in Left Rack at the time, and his first wife or his first baby mother lived in Left Rack. So I would go to the store and I would randomly see him. Like it would be so many random things happening. I remember when Mobb Deep, when CNN had dropped War Report, the promo they were doing was very much in the street, like very heavy with the street promo. And Nori had performed at Elm Core, which is like this like center, it's like a rec center in where Corona and Elmhurst meet. And it was a basketball game, and Nori had performed at halftime. And I was in fourth grade because I'll never forget this. I was in fourth grade. I had got a War Report sticker, and I had put it on my binder, and I thought I was the coolest kid in school because I had a War Report sticker on my binder.
That's hard. I got I got not suspended, but I got in trouble for doing a East Coast versus West Coast like poster on my fucking, we could make our own poster for our desk. And they were like, you get at, like, I got in hella trouble for that shit. I forgot about that until right now.
Yo, I'm telling you, like school was where it was at. Like when it came to like the, I guess you could say getting your music taste off, like, testing the waters with like, or like, yo, oh, have you heard this track? Or have you heard this track? And you know, I feel like that made me a lot of friends in school, like talking about music and stuff like that. Well, all my friends had the same taste anyway, so like we would come to school like, yo, you heard that new Buster joint on MTV? So that new Buster video, that was like our way of hearing new stuff. Oh
Your
yeah, but my bad. Back to revert to my first show. I
uh
feel like it was either that Nori show at the Elm Core or it was the Rock the Mic tour in 2000. I think that was like, oh, why do I want to say like '03? I was in North Carolina. I went to the Rock the Mic joint. It was G Unit, Busta, fucking Fab, I think was on there. Jewels was on it. It was a crazy lineup.
That's a
It was a
crazy
crazy
lineup. That's a crazy lineup.
lineup.
Fab puts on a great show. I got to be on stage with him at Drumwork Fest a couple of years ago, and I was like, I love a good performance.
Same,
I really not judge an artist because I don't want to judge artists, but like, I really appreciate a good performance from an artist.
same. Always, that's always been my thing. Like I would hear a song, like, cause back in the day before like we were able to share, I guess you could say before like Napster, I would hear new stuff either on the radio or on music videos. I'm like an MTV child. Like I literally watched music videos all day, MTV and BET all day. I watched music videos, and that was, I guess, like how I would hear new stuff. But then, like as I got older, and I was able to like be like, "Mom, I want to go to the show" and stuff like that. Seeing those artists that I like, in my headphones, I wanted to see them live, and then that made me like an ultimate fan of somebody if I fell in love with the live show.
Your parents were cool as hell. They were
Yeah,
letting you
my
play
mom
the
was mad
video
cool.
games, go to the concerts. That's dope as fuck.
Yeah, my mom had me, young, so like I guess she was like a very strict but cool mom at the same time. It's crazy. Like she was so overprotective, but at the same time very lenient when it
Yeah.
came to like letting me do things that I was into, like
Lived with,
sports
so
or
you lived with
games.
your mom.
Yeah, I grew up with my mom. My dad had passed before I was born.
Oh, okay. All right. I lived with my mom, and it's funny. She was the exact same way that you said that. And it's funny, like, being like older and being a man, looking back at that time and realizing how different it is as a upbringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like back then we
Getting
couldn't
your
see
like
it.
shit from that, from you know, your surroundings, and you're being taught to be like a gentleman at home type shit. So it's a weird dichotomy.
For real. It really is. It's like exactly what you said. It's like, you know, don't be a pushover when you're outside. If somebody hits you, hit them back, or gauge the situation. Always be aware of your surroundings. But then when you're home, be respectful, have manners, have etiquette. Talk to people with respect and stuff like that, and treat people with respect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But then I also couldn't go places. Like I had a curfew. Like some of my friends would be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go here," and my mom would be like, "Oh, whose parents are gonna be there?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, nobody's." And then my mom like, "Nope, your ass is not going nowhere." All right.
Was she listening to the music you were listening to? Like, was she fucking with
Yep.
it?
Yep. So like I said, like in the '90s, everything was new. So my mom is young. She's listening to Wu Tang. My mom was in love with Method Man back in the day. Like she was
Yo,
like, "That's my man.
my mom
That's
took
my
me to Lil
man."
Wayne. I saw Lil Wayne 6 times with my mom, bro. She loved that shit.
Yo, it's crazy. Like, especially when they fall in love with like a certain song, they like my mom used to buy the single and then would play that shit to the ground. I'm like, Ma, you're gonna drive me crazy. Like, you're gonna, my ears are gonna start bleeding from this one song playing over and over again. So then that's when I was like, all right, I gotta ask for a Walkman for
She
Christmas.
liked Method Man.
Yo, my mom loved Method Man.
So when you were playing the
Method Man,
wrestling game, you were just Inspector Deck fucking up Method Man.
yo, stand him up, man. And then his fatality was like a move where he'll take his fingers and then like he puts it on your forehead and goes pathetic, and then your head like blows up. That was like his fatality. It was
Wait, those like Mortal Kombat style.
yeah, yo, that game was so ill, man. That was yo, oh man. It was a rare gem to have too. It was like one of those rare video games.
Are you? I'm jumping back and forth from topics, but do you still play it all? Are you
Nah,
a gamer at all?
the
No?
last console I bought was to be honest, yeah, the last console I bought was a PS3. And then
Damn,
I ended up getting one for free because my mom went to the View, I think, or one of those shows, and then like was sitting on the hot seat that came with all the gifts. And like she got all these crazy gifts. And I was like, oh, I'll take the PlayStation for sure.
that's hard. That's hard. But you don't game no more. Do you miss it ever?
Like, to be honest with you, I want to get a PS5. I've been debating on getting one or not because the new GTA is coming out. But yeah, I'm not really, you know why I wouldn't say I'll get back into it because a lot of like there's not really that many game options anymore. Like everything is so limited to like 2K or Fortnite. Nobody really plays games like that anymore. So like I feel like GTA or Red Dead would be the only two games I would play.
There's this weird game called Disco Elysium. It's weird as hell. And
That sounds
it's like a fucking you're like a detective who's like a drug addict and you pick anything that can happen, like literally any interaction in it. It's
yeah,
like a walking book. And that shit was crazy. That got me back into gaming because I was like, damn, I've never played a game like this before.
that sounds sick.
It's like music. You know, when someone's artistic talent is so they create their lane so much that it's like
Yeah, it's like a whole different world. Yeah.
you just get inspired. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. That's how I felt when I first heard Mock, to be honest with you. So I know
Really?
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
What about him?
No, that's how I felt the first time I heard him. It's like, yo, this dude is like the lane he created for himself. Even back then when I first heard him, I was like, yo, this is crazy. It's like it's a whole nother universe.
Where do you
Uh,
think inspiration is drawn from? Like, where do you think we get our ideas?
from feeling. I feel like from well, my inspiration comes from like feeling. Like if something like if I see something that makes me feel something or think something, well, if I see something that makes me think something, that makes me feel something, and then therefore that sparks the inspiration, and then I'm like, oh shit, and then that's when the idea sparks up.
And then where does that go? Like in your brain, how does that turn to music?
Uh, in my head, how does that turn to music? Well, basically, damn, that's a really good question because like I have a process when it comes to making the music. Well, when it comes to making my music, like I would hear a beat and I'll smoke, listen to a beat, and then see where it takes me like mentally. I'll see where it takes me mentally. And then I'm like, oh shit. It takes me to this place mentally, which makes me feel like I should come at this record like this. And then next thing you know, I'll come with a whole little sound or like soundscape that I want to lay down over the beat. And then that's when I get the idea and then I start writing.
Has that always been how your brain works?
To be honest, since I was doing the solo stuff, yeah. Like since I've been on my solo stuff, yeah. I just, it took a while to like dissect the process and get it fine tuned, but it just happened naturally. Now I'm at a place where it's like, oh, I know how I work now.
This might be like a question that you get asked a lot, but I'm only asking it because of what you just said. So that's why I'm saying this now.
Okay.
What was the difference between you being solo and you being in a group that made you change your creative process?
Well, being in a group, a trio rather, because it was me, my man Lansky, my man Nasty Nigel. We were in a trio called Children of the Night. And that's how like I had started in the rap thing. Like the solo thing, yeah, I've always been like, a solo artist, but like when I started taking rap serious, I was in a trio. And it was kind of like an easy sort of situation because it'll be like, all right, cool. I would, especially back when we first started, it was kind of like I'll be listening to like Madlib beats or like Dilla beats or like Ninth Wonder beats or like a lot of J Arms, like beat pack or beat tapes and shit like that. And then I'll just write a lot of verses to beats that I like, although I knew other people made songs over them. Then I'll go back to Lansky's crib, which we called the Bat Cave, because that's where we recorded at. And I'll be like, yo, I got an ill ass idea for this. Or he'll text me while I was at school, like, yo, because I was in college at the time. He'll text me, like, yo, I got a sick ass idea for this record. Why don't we like go back and forth on some like Jaden style shit over this beat? So then I'll get out of school, drive home from Long Island, go right to his crib, and we'll start working on, a back and forth thing. So I felt like being in a group situation is kind of like you just got to provide either an 8 or a 16 or just a hook. It's kind of easy, you know what I'm saying, rather than providing a whole soundscape for a song that is just solely you.
Mm. So it was like almost like, yeah, it was like training wheels
Yeah,
because it's like you
literally.
can always bounce off the other person.
Exactly. Like say if I got stumped with an idea, I knew I had two other artists to rely on.
Mm. That's wicked funny because Chappelle always talks about how rap and stand up are super similar. And that's how I see stand up. Is it's like it's really weird when you're like there's no one you have to create the whole thing. There's no one to like bounce off of you. Whether like I don't know. If I can't think of a question right now, you'll probably say something because you don't want it to be awkward. You know what I mean? But it's like when you're just doing it alone, it's harder. You have to really know yourself, and that sounds
Yeah.
like cocky to say because you're when I'm speaking of myself, but it's like you really do have to know who you are because you have to be very just like open to who you are, whoever that is.
Yep. And I take exactly what you said is what I would say how I transform from the group aspect on stage to the solo act on stage because it was kind of like I started performing with a group. So once I got my first solo run, I was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. Like I'm literally by myself. I have to man the stage by myself. So it was kind of like I had to know myself because there's gonna be awkward silence at some parts during the set or in between certain songs. So I'm kind of like a funny guy if you have a conversation with me. So like I'll just say something on stage and the next thing you know, people start laughing. I'm like, oh shit, that was funny. And then from the first show to the end of the show, I got it down pat. Like it's literally like a walk through the park.
How was that performing at that big ass festival? Was that the biggest? What's the biggest stage you've done? Like,
Oh man, the biggest stage I've done. It's crazy to say because like I guess you could say what was that summer of 2014? I want to say we did the like as World's Fair we did the Euro Festival run and a lot of the like stages that we performed on there would be like these big ass tents like huge tents with like 15 people in them and then by the time we're third song in those tents are like full, like packed. And I'm like, oh shit. Like I'm like, all right, cool. Back this is that we like, when you I guess you could say, how can I explain it? When we did our first like little tour, some of the shows, like we did our first one with 2-9. It was World's Fair 2-9. We did a little East Coast run. And some of the like places that we stopped at, it was nobody in these venues. Like when we did Rhode Island, it was probably like 5 people in the venue. So I looked at it like, fuck it, this is rehearsal. Like we'll just rehearse. Like we'll get paid to rehearse. So that's how I would try to get everybody in the spirits. Like, yo, let's just get paid to rehearse. Let's go, y'all. Let's do it. So like when we would do these festivals and we would get on the stage, and mind you, these are huge stages, and then you see like 15, 20 people. Well, it may look like 15 to 20 people to us, but it's probably like 40 people when you look at the grand scheme of it. And
Yeah.
then you start this set, and we're like, all right, cool, guys, it's time to rehearse. Let's go. And then third song in, it'll jump to like 400 people. You're like, wait, what the hell? The next song is more people. You're like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And then the ways festivals work, as you walk through them, you see how they work. Like you're walking through it, then you'll hear something coming from another stage, and then you just run to it. So I was like, all right, maybe our sound is catching people's ears and they're running over to the stage.
Is there a difference in like a stage that size? Have you ever done like a stage that size solo?
No. Well, the closest I've been to doing something like that solo was why do I want to say it's a venue in Kansas City that has like a really big fucking stage, and it's just like very big for some reason. It's like one of those like auditorium, like college auditorium stages, and like I'm like, all right, I'm about to just slowly walk across this like a stand-up comedian, and that's how I performed. I literally just walked. I like walked slowly across from and paced myself from one end to the other. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna give you some. Yeah, you get some. You get
Would
some.
you ever do stand up?
I feel like I to be honest with you, I feel like my set ends up turning into stand up once I get real comfortable, or once I feel like the crowd is like cool enough. I start, interacting with them. I start talking to people. I remember one show I had did, it was some dude in the crowd. I was the first act. ASAP 12 was after me, and Zombies was headlining. And it was one of these states where like, people would just, they knew they like, we got there and I was like, yeah, these people want to see Zombies. They don't really care about the opening acts. So like we got to we got to the venue.
Bro, yeah.
Surprisingly, before I
That's like
went
when I
on, it
was
was
with
packed.
Danny when they were doing Red Rocks. People were there
Yeah.
to see.
So like, yo, it was some dude. He's standing with his arms crossed, and mind you, he's in the middle of the venue. It's packed, like it's packed. He's in the middle of the fucking crowd with his arms crossed. Everybody else is having a good time. His arms are crossed. So I'm like, stop the music. I'm like, yo, my man, why your arms crossed? And then he's like, like kind of like, and I'm like, oh, I guess you here to see Flatbush Zombies. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And I was just like, yo, who else is here to see Flatbush Zombies? And everybody started clapping and cheering. So I was like, well, what makes you different from everybody else in here? And everybody else starts laughing. And I was like, yo, Buddhist man. And everybody starts booing. And then we got into the show. And everybody was laughing at it. Even the bouncers in the venue was like, bro, that had me cracking up.
That's hilarious. People
So
don't
yeah,
realize that it's not TV. Like we can see you. Like when
yeah, we
you're
can
on
see you.
stage, you can see pretty much every person. I can see
Especially
you on your phone. I can see you like
yo, I be catching the crazy shit. I be catching people like so high as hell that they're like going crazy in the crowd. Like they're on autopilot. Like they're so drunk and high that the bass is like literally moving their body.
I had to stop doing mushrooms in public for that reason at con. Are you a
Oh,
mushroom guy?
occasionally. Last time I was on shrooms was like February of last year. And yeah, I was in the desert. I was in Palm Springs. It was a great time. Great time.
In the desert? What were you doing in the desert?
It was me, my girlfriend, and her family. It was her mom's birthday. And
Dude, wait, did you do shrooms with your mom?
nah, not with her mom, but
Oh, I was just
everybody else
like,
was on it.
that's
Me, her
crazy.
brother, his girlfriend. It was lit. It was a great time. It was a great time. It was,
Yeah, that's fun.
but it was cool though because we all had went to go eat, and we went to this like cool ass restaurant, and for some reason the way it was like lit had my body feeling like the vibrations was so crazy, and I'm like looking at my girl like, babe, this shit is like my body's grooving, the vibration got me going, and she's like, nothing, you don't even nothing. She's like, nothing's even like moving. Like, she's like, relax, chill
And
out.
everyone in that restaurant is you on stage looking at the guy in the audience. Cause I'll be like, no one knows I'm tripping right now. And I'm
And then
like,
you're like, listen, you don't even know.
like my beard feels so weird right now.
Me in the restaurant over here thinking I'm looking cool, but I'm like probably looking crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Have you ever had any crazy trips? Because you said you were doing like Euro. Like, have you ever done any crazy trips that tripped anywhere crazy?
Nah, um, nah. Acid,
Coolest place you
did acid
smoked a
before.
joint then?
Yeah, nah. I've never tripped on that. Like the thing is, when I try stuff, which I don't really try much of, it was just psychedelics, like
Yeah.
weed. I smoke weed, but like
I'm the
never did
same way.
any other
Only really
drug.
psychedelics and weed. That's
Yeah,
it.
just weed. Never did any other drug.
I've never done coke. I've
Shrooms.
never.
Yeah, never did coke. Never did anything else but shrooms and acid. I did LSD a few times.
My grandmother had a bottle of Activist, so we drank that. That was fun.
Actually, I said lean like twice back in the
I
day.
did it with my grandma, so I feel like it's okay.
That shit was gross. I was like, yeah, I am never doing this shit.
No,
This shit is
it
gross.
should.
It was gross. And my
And
homie had made the
expensive,
craziest like
how
weed
expensive
stuff.
it is.
Bro, but my boy had an ill little play. He was like, he was exchanging CDs to these Canadians for the activists because like they couldn't get certain access to certain CDs early. Like obviously we would get the drops early. So these dudes would drive down from Canada
For the
and
fucking
and
for
cop
the
CDs in exchange for bottles of activists. And my
who
boy,
CDs. I want to know
yeah,
who what CDs they love so much that they're trading 800
bro, I
for
would never
bottles.
forget this shit. It was the summer that UGK had dropped that album with that had International Players Anthem on it. Why do I
Oh
want
yeah.
to? Which I don't know that. Why am I forgetting the name of the album? Why do I want to say it was called Underground Kings?
I think that was the name
I
of the
think that
album.
was that album.
Yeah.
So it was that album, and it was two other albums that came out around that time. And these dudes wanted multiple of them to sell in their little mixtape spot. So they drove down and they swapped out the activists for the CDs.
That's a bad
So my man had
investment.
to act, and we
That's
went to the
NFT shit.
mind you, this is early on. Like this is early, like early on before the craze. And like we went to
Oh,
some
okay.
in Coney Island, and like he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna pull up some mix. I'm gonna pull up a mix for you." And I was like, "Pull up." I'm like, nigga, just give me some Hennessy, man. I
Like
ain't with that.
just put on UGK and let me drink
Yeah.
my
But
Hennessy.
mind you, we're driving to Coney Island, blasting the UGK album, sipping. He's sipping lean, and I'm kind of like where the hell am I right now? Like, did I just like get warped through a time portal and I'm in Houston, New York? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, what the hell is going on?
Oh
And
my God. Yo, that's hilarious.
craziest experience. But yeah, after that night, I was like, yeah, leaning for me. This shit is
Huh.
gross.
Mm-mm.
It was gross.
It does not taste good.
Yeah. And then the McConan, the first time I did acid was because of McConan. McConan had blessed me and my man Tebe with 2 tabs of acid. That was the first time I ever tried it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm never gonna go looking for it. If it comes to me, I'm gonna choose if I want to do it or not. And that's just gonna be where it ends.
How was the trip?
That trip was incredible. That trip was incredible.
Was it on a
That trip,
Tuesday?
I don't know what day it was, but
That was a
actually,
dumb, that was a dumb joke.
I was about to say, let me look it up because it was the Philly show. It was our show that was in Philadelphia. And I was like, wait, I was on stage tripping, not knowing I was tripping. But it was one of the best shows I've ever did in my life.
I feel like you could perform music tripping, but I feel like you couldn't do stand up tripping.
Yeah, because I feel like stand up is way more person. Like I feel like it's you know what I'm saying? Is you don't have that music barrier. You don't. It's
Yeah.
literally you
Yeah. You
and
know
them.
when you're tripping and you'll just stop mid sentence and then just like look off and then come back with a whole new thought? Like you can't do that. You
You can't
can't
do that in
just
stand
go
up.
out
You're gonna be
like
like
mid joke, you know?
crickets. You're like, yo, get him off the fucking stage.
That shit. I've told this story a ton of times on the podcast, so for people listening, I'm sorry. But the only time I did acid, I did it with my friends, and as I was peaking, I was like out in the city, and I went outside, and a kid tried to rob me as I was peaking on
Oh
acid for the
God.
first time, and I was like, never again. Like that's just I never see myself doing it again after that. That just ruined my experience. I
Yeah,
literally, I
that
was
would ruin.
tripping, so I didn't act like I should. I just screamed like ah and ran away. And he
Yeah.
was probably like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
Like,
he probably was like taken aback by it, like the hell.
yeah, yeah.
I feel you. I
You
wouldn't
ever
do
get
it.
like mugged or anything? Not mugged, but
Nah,
like stuck up on the street.
nah. Shout out to my moms for raising me to be, very aware, very street smart. And I feel like when people are plotting on somebody like that, they're watching you before they do it, and then they can pick up if somebody's onto them or not. So then they think twice before they do it.
Yeah. People don't expect. I'm 6'4", like 270. I'm a big dude, so I feel
Yeah,
like
fucking body slam somebody. Yo, I'll slam you out of the fucking neck, bro. Fuck around.
yeah. I want to go back to the how your brain works in a way because I my high thoughts were thinking about that. When you were a kid, did your brain work in music? Like were you born was your path born this way?
To be honest, music has always been around me. Like ever since like I was able to pick up a remote and turn the TV on and off by myself. Like music has always been around me, and rap videos especially. I used to watch Music Video Box when I was like an infant, like a little kid, like a toddler, and I memorized a lot of songs too, like when I was a kid, and that was like a thing to me too, like knowing songs so much that I memorized them. People like, how the hell do you know? Like, how do you know memorize all of these songs in different genres too? Because MTV is not just hip hop. You're getting rock songs, so I'm listening to certain rock and roll songs. Like, oh, this is cool. Like, I like this. Like, oh, this is tight. Like alternative rock. Oh, this is cool. I like this. Certain R&B. Oh, this is cool. I like this. So I feel like since a kid, I was always able to dissect certain things where it comes to like, oh, this song is very infectious. Like this is such an infectious hook that it made me buy the whole album off that one single. And then I'm listening to the album and I'm picking up on the other songs that have great melodies and great bridges and great hooks and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, this one is gonna be the next hit. Or watch this one be the next single. And then like things started happening like that. So then I was like, all right, maybe I have an ear for things. And then that translated into the artistry once I started making my own music.
Because I'm always, do you feel like everyone is born to do one thing?
No, no, not at all. Because like it's perfect example. Somebody I just saw a tweet on Twitter. Somebody had pulled up an old Dante DiVincenzo tweet from when I guess he was in college or probably high school. And it was just like something like, oh, okay, dad, fuck you because I don't want to play soccer anymore. Now he's a professional basketball player. He's doing warm ups. They're shoot at the shoot around. He's fucking kicking the ball, like fucking kicking it, bouncing off his knee. Like, I'm saying? Like his soccer mechanisms are still instilled in him, and I'm pretty sure that goes for anybody that
He's
plays a
an athlete. Like he was born to be an athlete.
but not all athletes can do multiple things, in my opinion. Because
Mhm.
like I could play basketball, I could play football, I could play baseball to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't, like if somebody's throwing a fucking baseball at me 90 miles per hour, I can't hit that shit. You know what I'm saying? I can't hit that shit. But so I would say at like athletes can do most things to a certain extent. But when it comes to like, I guess you could say profession, like I guess
All right.
him doing it on that level was like, you see professionals doing it like that.
Do
But
you
he's
produce at all?
no.
But do you think if you picked up producing within 2 years, you would be a really good producer?
Well, since I guess you could say I would, admit that I am sort of a perfectionist, I would say it would take me like 3 to 4 years. Because like I will make sure I
You have
will
a
want to have shit down.
proficiency for music.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, a lot of producers that I work with, I've always been very like hands-on or like, oh, I got this sample, and I would send them the like snippet of the piece of the sample, send it over and be like, yo, this part, flip this part. And they'll be like, yo, why don't you stop making beats? And I'm like, nah, I don't have the time to because I'm still perfecting my writing craft. And I know once I tap into that, I'm gonna forget about the writing. I'm gonna go full into the like learning how to make beats.
Do you think
But
you've
I always tell
perfected it
myself I'll
yet?
buy an SP and get started.
Do you think you've perfected your pen yet?
Nope. And that's exactly why I haven't started trying to produce yet.
Yeah. How many years, what track record, how many years are you putting on that until you perfect your pen?
I feel like that's a forever growing process.
Mm. I like that you can be an older rapper now.
Yeah, that's like when I was younger, I thought, rap had a age limit. Like it was kind of like a certain expiration date that you have to sort of like, all right, cool. If I didn't do it by this time, I'm done. But also that's because rap was also such a new genre. So like the dudes that were like the first guys I saw doing it were also growing with the times. So like to see Jay or Q-Tip now is kind of like, oh shit, you guys aren't really that old. Like you're older, but you aren't really that old where you gotta stop doing this. And now that I'm at an age that I'm at now, I'm kind of like, oh, there was no expiration date at all, or a ceiling for this rather. Because you get wiser as you get older, you get smarter as you get older. So why does the writing have to stop?
It's like, I know I talk a lot about West Side Gun too, but it's like he's an older dude in the like for a rapper, but he's on Travis Scott's album. He's gonna be on Post Malone's next album. It's like he's still make like that's a crazy thing too. You know what I mean? It's like you don't need to be 20 whatever, you know?
Nah, because the thing is also you gotta understand like there's always going to be a generation of kids that want to go backwards and listen to like where hip hop began. So like those kids are going to end up like, oh, this boom bap sort of sound sticks with me more than this new age fast paced 808 driven heavy bass driven like stuff. And then I feel like once a kid goes back, they can make a differentiation between the two and then be like, all right, cool. There's two different worlds, and it doesn't have to be I like this or I like that. You can blend all worlds. You can like multiple different
Yeah.
sounds when it comes to hip hop. So
I'm
like I feel like the kids going backwards and like, doing their research and their homework on old stuff, I feel like it's a cool thing. And Travis, I feel like picked up on that. Like, my demographic is a younger demographic, but I can introduce them to something that they may not know through doing this collab with West Side Gun.
I think it's cool because I'm definitely not a kid. Like I'm 26 years old, but
When I say
still,
kids, I say like teens. Like, yeah,
no,
I have a younger brother. My little brother just turned 18.
exactly. But it's crazy that I feel like the older people won't do that the other way around. Like won't
Yeah.
get I like I like new shit. Like I like a lot of the new shit. Like I listen to a lot of Detroit shit. I listen to a lot of like Skrilla from Philly. I don't know if you've ever heard him, but like he's like all I've been listening to recently, and he's like the opposite of what people would think I listen to, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
Do you ever
But
listen to any of
it's
that shit?
always
Like, do you
it's
listen to
always
like a Playboy Cardi or like
it's crazy you brought this up because like I remember when Cardi started coming around ASAP, like certain ASAP members, you know, I grew up with certain ASAP members. As we, you know, this music thing, we all grew together. So Cardi had tweeted me. I had dropped, I think we had dropped 3 Flip 6, me, ASAP, and Juice from Flapper Zombies. And when we had dropped it, Yams, rest in peace, my brother, he had retweeted it, and obviously other ASAP members had tweeted it. Playboy Cardi replied to my tweet and was like, "Yo, once you he was like, once you have free time, I think, or once you have get a second, like listen to this." And it was like a link to one of his records. And it's crazy to think back on it because it was kind of like I feel like Cardi, he's been around, you know what I'm saying? Like he's
he
made songs
started with
for
like
actual rappers.
father and
Yeah,
shit. Like he
hey,
came up in awful records with father. Like people don't
like
remember
he's
that.
around
Yeah.
artists that know what they that know shit. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like to not be a fan of Cardi or like or just be a fan of him as an artist, regardless if you don't like certain songs or certain projects or certain sounds of his. To not be a fan of him as an artist is crazy. It's crazy because like he grew up with a lot of people that know their shit.
Yeah. Do you know who YNJ is?
YNJ, never heard of him.
Coochie Man
But that's a fire name though. I fuck
from
with that.
Detroit. Like he'll like rap, and if he'll fuck up a bar, he'll just keep recording and restart it and like keep it in it. And it's fire. And I think people like if I played that for like someone who was a fan of like Mock, you know what I mean? I feel like they'd be like, fuck this shit. This is the worst shit ever. Turn it off. But like I like I don't know. I see the beauty in it. Like I love it all. Like I enjoy fun music. I don't get
I'm
why
the type of
music can't be
person
fun too.
I would hear that and I would be like, oh nah, that's crazy that he just started it back over and kept going. Like
You should check
that
it
was the
out. I would
first time
love to
I
hear
heard
what you think.
Tebe had played this, what was it, the RXK nephew?
I
Or
love
yeah,
RXK nephew. Yeah.
Tebe had put me on to that. We were at Al's crib years ago, and Tebe had played something for me, one of the joints for me. And I was like, bro, the way, like just the way he was rapping on that song, I was like, yo, I honestly, this isn't what I would usually listen to, but the artistry in it, like the way he's rapping, the flow, how he's rapping, what he's saying, I'm like, nah, this shit is nuts. Like
I don't
I
you
can
see
appreciate this. Like this is nuts.
I don't know if you probably didn't, but I played my mom and grandma RXK nephew on Christmas. I played him as played them his Christmas song, and I recorded it, and it went like he reposted it. It went viral. But even my mom and grandma who were love it, like my grandma was like, "Oh, this is kind like I enjoy this." It was
It's
so
different.
fun.
You know what I'm saying? When you can
Yeah,
appreciate somebody doing something different, I feel like you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
that's being open minded when I feel like you could just hear something and be like, all right, cool. You could take away something from it rather than just being negative about it. Like, oh, this shit is whack. Turn this shit off. Turn this shit the fuck off. Nah, give it
Like
a
on
listen because it may be something in there that's gonna catch you.
That's the whole thing about TikTok. And I was high as hell thinking about this. This was a stoned thought. I was like, damn, TikTok made it because there's always been times where I like a song, but I love 15 seconds of a song. Like I think
Mm,
that, and I think maybe TikTok is bad for a lot of things in music. It kind of like waters down the way that like an artist, someone knows that that artist makes that song. Like I
yeah,
understand that, but I also think it's cool that artists who maybe just found that weird niche for a moment, they just got in that perfect flow for 30 seconds that can catch and go anywhere.
Yeah. Uh,
I don't know. Have you ever felt that way? Like maybe you're writing a verse and you don't love all of it, but there's like a part of it where you're like, no, that was perfection. Just that like
yeah, just that
part of
one little 2 bars or that little 4 bars of that verse was perfect. Yeah, for sure. That
perfect, you
happens often.
know?
That definitely happens often. Or I'll just be like, damn, like where did I go in my brain when I wrote these bars? I need to tap back into that.
Yeah. What type of old person do you think you're gonna be?
I think I'm gonna be a very relaxed old person. It's funny because like my girlfriend's mom calls me an old man. She's like, "You're the youngest old man I know." Like, you're not difficult. You're very easy going. Like, you literally wake up, you smoke weed, you go get breakfast, and then you listen to your music and you do your thing. Like that was me on vacation when we were all out, in vacation. Like, I got my routine. So obviously I wake up early and I get right to the music. And she was like, "Yeah, you move like an old man." So yeah, she was like, "I feel like you're the youngest old man I ever met." So I feel like that's gonna be me amplified. I'm gonna just be a chill old dude, like just enjoying my freedom and
Where
my
are you gonna
peace.
want to live? The woods, the city? Where do you think?
That's a really good question. Because me and my girl talk about this often. Because like obviously, as I've grown older, I want to be off the grid way more, and I love nature as well. And I've been fortunate enough to travel, around the United States and also other countries, but just the U.S. I feel like people don't really get to travel to certain states and get to see the full nature in those states. So, like the first time I went to Oregon, I was fortunate enough to go to Mount Hood and got to shoot a video in the woods, and I was like, "Yo, this is dope!" Like I would live in a cabin off, and tucked away in the woods like this. Like this is something I would do. Or last summer I went to Sicily and just people literally like old men just like literally chilling, reading the newspaper, smoking a cigar, like just enjoying life, like just enjoying the peace. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, damn, I can grow old like this too. Like just chilling on the countryside, you know what I'm saying? Like in a nice little ranch.
I I'll announce it on this podcast because it happened yesterday. When I started this podcast, I think this is probably 340 episodes. I think
Okay.
probably
I wish it was
somewhere.
420.
You too. Maybe we'll do an in-person one for 420.
420.
We'll get one
Yes.
of those giant joints, the like mega ones.
Let's do it.
We'll
Let's
do
do
a
it.
podcast and smoke that. All right,
It'll
we'll do
be a
that
smoke
for
fest.
420. Um, but I've lived in this apartment the entire time I started the podcast, from nothing to like still nothing, but where I am now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm moving to, I got like a different apartment, but it's in the wood, a different place actually. It's in the
Congratulations.
woods and it's like middle of nowhere. It's closer to the cities, but it's like in the middle of the woods, literally, like in this creek bed. And I'm so happy to be in nature. I don't know. I love that. City life is not for me, really.
Well, congrats on that. Because I feel like being in nature is very inspiring too. Like just to like wake up, not hear nobody moving around, but you hear the birds chirping, you hear the fucking dew falling from a leaf to another. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you hear certain things that you're like, oh shit, I didn't even know I could hear this because there's so much audio pollution when you're in the city.
They said there might be
I
bears in my
wouldn't even say
backyard.
audio pollution. It's just a lot of sounds.
They said there might be bears and deer and moose in my backyard. Imagine I wake
That's
up and
cool.
I'm just fucking smoking a joint with a bear. Are you kidding me?
Look, hey, I've been in the Poconos smoking, and a fucking deer just pulled up like on the side of the deck, and I'm like, oh, hey, like, oh, shit.
What a
When
hit.
we did the World's Fair album up in upstate New York, and we had this sick ass house that we did the album at, and like it was literally tucked in the woods. Like you had to drive off the highway, off a road, onto another dirt road, and then drive down there, and then you'll see like a mailbox, and then like 3 minutes later you'll see another mailbox, but then you don't see anything else because you got to drive down these long ass driveways to get to their property.
That's
And
where
then
I'm living now.
yo,
That's
that's
where
the
I'm
shit.
living
That's the
now.
shit. That's the shit.
Yeah, I'm
It's
excited.
ill. Like that's dope. I'm excited for you.
Thank you, man.
I'm excited
We
for you.
did over an hour already. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
this is why I just was having this conversation with a friend of mine. He was like, "Yo, that's crazy because you don't really do a lot of interviews and stuff like that." And I was just like, "Well, because back when I first started doing solo interviews, I felt like a lot of people I did interviews with were asking me the same question, and that shit got very repetitive. And it got to a point where I was like, man, fuck that shit. Like, I'm gonna just be extra selective with who I talk to, and I fuck with what you do. I've watched previous interviews you did with other artists, and I'm like, nah, this is definitely somebody I would have a conversation with.
I appreciate that. That really means a lot because that's what it's all about. I want people to feel comfortable talking, bro, because I think people want to hear artists as they really are, not like dumb interview questions. I hate that.
Exactly.
I hate
Like,
all
yeah, them
that shit. You know
generic
what
ass
I mean?
questions. Talk to me about some real shit.
I want to talk about PlayStation and
Yeah,
fucking smoking with deer.
yeah. Know what I'm saying?
But no, for real. And I can't wait. Let me know when you drop the project because I can't wait
Yeah,
for
I'm gonna
people.
definitely give you a heads up because I'm definitely like a fan of when it comes to like releasing certain things that aren't albums. Like this is like the final installation to my Champ Hoodie music EP series. So I feel like this is gonna be a nice little setup before the album.
And
And
I hope
yeah,
it's fire. Thank you for
thank
letting
you,
me
bro.
hear it.
Thank
It
you.
was dope as
Because I've
hell.
been sitting with it for a minute, and I feel like I've kept it really close to me and like who I have in my circle. And they're all like, bro, you're sitting on some shit. Like you think you're slick, like calling this an EP when this shit is like an album, and then you're gonna drop another album. Like, I see what you're doing. I'm like, nah, it's an EP. But then I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh nah, this shit does ride out like a fucking album. Like,
You're
fuck.
closer to perfecting your pen, I guess.
I guess.
At least
I
one step
guess.
closer. But man, thank you so much. Thank you guys
Yo,
for
thank
listening.
you. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, hey.